next guest is an award-winning photographer, artist and filmmaker. Tomas van Houtryve was selected to document the devastation wrought by the massive blaze that ripped through Notre-Dame 4 years ago. Over the course of 12 months, he enjoyed rare access to the cathedral and to the teams assigned to painstakingly restore it to its former glory. As well as beautiful images, Tomas also created stunning drone footage of the building. His exhibition, The Renaissance of an Icon, can be seen outside Notre-Dame, where it will remain until next summer. Tomas is our guest for today's Perspective. Thanks so much for coming into studio this morning, Tomas, to talk to us. Before we get to the exhibition, just tell us a little bit about your work as a photographer. I presume you had taken pictures of the cathedral before that night.
I had, but I hadn't chosen it as a subject. I actually have a friend who has a beautiful view looking down on Notre Dame from his apartment window. And a few years ago in 2017, I bought a very old 19th century camera and I wanted to test it somewhere. And so I tested it from his window. So I have this photograph of the cathedral using an old technique before the cathedral was damaged by the 2019 fire.
Where were you that night, actually? Were you?
I was at home in Paris and I was with my kids. And it's funny how news spreads around the world today. I actually found out from a colleague that was in Kathmandu who sent me a message, and so I found out, like many people, you know, the information spread around the world faster than the flames spread through Notre Dame. It was incredible.
And were you there taking pictures that night?
I was not. I was alone at home with my two little kids, and so I couldn't go out and see what was happening. And so I heard about it secondhand, and I didn't expect that I would end up going inside the cathedral and that it would become such a big part of my life and sort of move me so strongly when I started going in.
And how and why then were you selected to document what was happening there at the cathedral, the restoration work?
Well, I was called by National Geographic magazine, and I had previously worked with a photo editor, James Welford. He had sent me into North Korea, amongst other places. He knew I had a love of history, that I knew how to use these old techniques and cameras, and he knew that I had a lot of experience flying a drone. And he thought those two things, the love of history and the drone skills, could be perfect for documenting the cathedral, and it ended up being ideal.
Let's talk then about the exhibition itself. It can be seen just outside the cathedral, large-scale images there for anyone who has visited or who will be visiting Notre Dame the next couple of months. It's going to be there until next summer. Lots of time to see your work. But talk to us about the first in those series of photos. They're quite different. The first one's documenting Notre Dame after the fire. Why did you decide to use colour, for example, for these images?
Well, as I went into Notre Dame, I was pulled in two different directions. One was really to document this historical moment. This is the cathedral in its 850-year history as we've never seen it before. And so I used a normal digital camera in color to document this terrible historical moment. But after that, it really reminded me of the past. And during the 19th century, there was a great revival of the cathedral and rebuilding inspired by Victor Hugo's novel. And so I saw echoes in what was happening today. And so I decided to take two approaches. And so the exhibition is split in these two approaches. The color section really talking about now, the damage and the reconstruction efforts. And then the black and white section talking about echoes with the past. Talk
to us more about that then. As you say, you used a 19th century wooden camera and glass plates to photograph the cathedral. Why did you decide to do that? Well, that previous reconstruction of Notre Dame happened at around the same time as the invention of photography and this camera that I had. And in fact, a lot of people don't know, they imagine Notre Dame as this medieval cathedral, but it was really thoroughly rebuilt by the architect Viollet-le-Duc in the 19th century. The spire that burnt down in 2019 was Viollet-le-Duc's spire. And the very iconic gallery of chimeras, those grotesque statues, those were also an addition from the 19th century. So the cathedral has both elements, the medieval element and the 19th century element. And so I kind of wanted to take people on a window through time using both the photographic process and the look of that time and the remnants of the cathedral that we can see from that time. Now, you had very rare access to the cathedral over the course of a year. Just tell us what that was like, just being able to get inside Notre Dame and to follow the work of those who were restoring it.
It was really incredible because, Notre-Dame is a special place. It's a place of reverence, but often it's a victim of its own success. And so when you go in there before the fire, you would be with a huge crowd. When I was photographing it, sometimes I would be in there alone or just with a security guard. The wind or the rain falling through the huge hole where the spire used to be, sort of this ghostly presence. And so it's extremely moving to be alone in a space like that, especially in a damaged state. But it's also, in this day and age, when there's all kinds of chaos in the world, to see something happen that's bad and people mobilize and get together, and the level of care and dedication that's put in the reconstruction, that's very hopeful to see the cathedral rising up again.
And what kind of access did you get to the teams that were working on that restoration work?
I followed many teams, rope access workers, paint restorers, people that were removing old debris or installing replacements. And a lot of those workers, it's sort of the work site of a lifetime for them. So many of them are so proud to be there, and it's some of the best people who are selected to be in there. So you really meet interesting and dedicated people on the work site.
You're a ringside to history, as you might say. You say as well that the theatre, it might actually be more impressive once it reopens. Hopefully it will do by the end of next year. Why do you think that? Just give us an idea of what you were expecting it to look like once it does reopen.
Right. Well, at least in our lifetimes, we've never seen everything restored at once. And so since they have the time and the funding to shut everything down and go over everything with a fine-tooth comb, I think it will be beautiful, brilliant, immaculate when it reopens. It'll really get sort of the makeover and the reconstruction that we haven't seen in our lifetimes.
And Thomas, will you be there to document the reopening?
Yes, definitely. Originally, Notre Dame wasn't part of my life, but now it is, and so it's a place worth going back to and following its trajectory through time.
We'll be looking forward to seeing your images. Hopefully you'll get to document that for us as well. Thomas, thank you so much for coming in to us here this morning on France 24. That is Tomas van Houtryve, award-winning photographer, artist and filmmaker. Thank you.
Thank you.